Kenneth Branagh was a pretty interesting choice for Thor. Now, he's kind of an artsy guy, artsy filmmaker guy, so that was actually kind of a brave choice. And here's one of the things what a studio does is when they risk getting an art director to make a one of the superhero action fun fests for the summer. You either get something like Ang Lee doing Hulk, which was for the most part an entertaining, well-made film, but slightly confusing and frustrating. By the way, slightly confusing and frustrated are not two good words you want to use to describe a summer blockbuster superhero film. Or you get the Chris Nolan film, of course, Batman Begins, and that was the perfect mixture of art versus summer popcorn. So, what did we get with Kenneth Branagh doing Thor? Well, thankfully it seemed to be more of the Chris Nolan route. Let's see, Chris Hemsworth is playing Thor, as well as Natalie Portman playing, I think, the long-forgotten Jane Foster character, who is sort of the girlfriend in the Thor comics way back. Let me see. We also have Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Anthony Hopkins as Odin, Stellan Skarsgård as a character I'm not familiar with, Eric Slavik, Kat Dennings as a character named Darcy Lewis, and goes on so forth. Of course, this isn't really an origin story because Thor isn't a superhero. He's a guy. He's just the guy who happens to be a god of thunder, and the next in line to take over Asgard after his immortal father eventually does die. I don't know how that stuff works. But anyway, he's next in line to take over. But in a moment of not really thinking things through, he maybe inadvertently starts a new war with the Ice Giants, which is their main antagonists. Let's just say. After there was a small invasion into the palace of a few ice giants, so therefore Thor wants to get to the bottom of this and starts kicking ass over in the ice giant territory. Well, that was kind of a big no-no. They had a truce, so he banishes him to Earth, unable to use his mighty hammer, and things kind of get going from there. Now, what's cool is, yeah, it's not an origin story. It is sort of the origin of how Thor came to Earth, and started, I don't know, crime fighting, battling evil, whatever he does. But Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, as well as her cohorts, encounter him while they're studying possible wormhole connections, which, she's a brilliant scientist. But what's cool is Natalie Portman is playing a scientist in this film, young scientist. Now, normally when you get a young, hot actress to play a character like that, it's like, yeah, bullshit, whatever. But Natalie Portman is a great mix of someone who is beautiful but also looks smart, so good casting on that. The interactions she and the others have with Thor are quite funny, actually. Like the 800 times they hit him with the car, I think is quite good. His mixture into New Mexico society, it's a good thing he didn't land in Arizona. They would have been like up his ass about his papers, but hey. Meanwhile, Loki's doing some double-crossing bullshit over in Asgard. What's cool is the film is going through its two storylines. One on Earth, one in Asgard. And when they connect into the third act, I think it's rather smooth, and which is, of course, the perfect the perfect way that, comic books do this all the time. And films, specifically films based on comic book superheroes, don't. They either go a very realistic route or a goofy fun fest route. And I think Branagh does a great job of having this epic Asgard plotline mix well with the realistic Earth plotline. And when they come together, it just feels natural, and that's the cool thing about what Branagh did with this film. By the way, the visuals, the effects are just amazing. You know, Asgard looks great. The bridge, the Rainbow Bridge, looks great. God, the Ice Giant stuff looks great. Oh, the Destroyer looks great. I mean, it's all really well done. Now, of course, this is one of the new Marvel films that are they're progressing into the eventual Avengers film. And it does a pretty good job dropping what it needs to, but still telling its own story. So far, the Iron Man films, the Hulk film, have done a good job of like being their own thing at the same time progressing the story. There is a slight risk in all this that all these films will feel like a whole series of prequels, and this one avoids that for the most part. There's also a great cameo by Hawkeye. He's called by his real name, but after a moment I go, oh, hey, that's Hawkeye. He's well done in the film, and he's very well utilized. The acting, I think, is great. Chris Hemsworth, I'm not familiar with him. Natalie Portman is Natalie Portman. As well as the rest of the cast. Kat Dennings, I've heard of her a couple of times, but I've never really actually seen her in a film. She's quite good as Jane's sidekick, basically. And I'd have to say, good work, everybody. I'm going to give this 5 Ram chips. I did enjoy it for the most part. I think it was a pretty entertaining time. If you're looking for a good summer movie, this is the time to start. I think this is potentially pretty good summer. Anyway, push the button, Lindsay.